Turn back ahead. The cartel members who murder people with chainsaws. Let's get it. Let's go. The fugitive. Shout out to fugitive.
Mexican drug cartel, cross the Mexican drug cartels, and you live to regret it. Two men who worked for the notorious Sinaloa cartel made the major mistake of stealing from their employers. Because of this, they paid the ultimate price. It was a bloody and brutal price at that. Keep watching to hear about what happened to them. Who were the executioners? In this video, I'm focusing on the deaths of Felix Gamez Garcia and his uncle, Barnabas Gamez Castro, in 2011. They were viciously executed, and worst of all, these murders happened on camera, recorded at a time before such violence was freely available to watch online. Their demise is thought to be one of the first cartel execution videos uploaded for the world to see. We're used to witnessing worldwide atrocities on the internet, but back then, the impact must have been especially shocking. We know these men died, and died horribly, but who actually killed them? It's believed that they were murdered by the Sinaloa cartel. After all, this is the criminal organization they were working for. Founded in 1989, it was formed during the fallout of another brutal killing, that of Enrique Kiki Camarena. This DEA agent angered the now defunct Guadalajara cartel by reportedly blowing the lid on a major marijuana plantation. Authorities moved in and torched the product to the ground. The move cost the Guadalajara organization a yearly income of approximately $8 billion. Camarena was believed to be responsible. He was snatched, tortured, and executed. In recent years, the crime was on the people's minds due to its dramatization in the Netflix series Narcos. By committing such a high-profile murder, the cartel had exposed itself to the wrath of the DEA. After the applied pressure, the organization effectively shut down and splintered off into various groups. One of these was the powerful Sinaloa cartel. Camarena's killing was a turning point of sorts in the war on drugs. The gang had crossed the line. This appalling story also spelled out, in no uncertain terms, what happened to those who crossed these dangerous individuals and their foot soldiers. Lawmen were on the hit list, but so was anyone who caused the Sinaloa harm. Some cartel members were desperate or misguided enough to believe they could take something from their employers and get away with it. Which brings me to talking about who we see in this terrible video: the victims. As I said earlier, the men who died here were a nephew and uncle, Felix Gamez Garcia and Barnabas Gamez Castro. We know they are connected to the Sinaloa cartel because Felix apparently worked for El Cholo, or Orso Gastelum, security chief for the organization. El Cholo was a top figure in the cartel, with its leader Joaquin El Chapo Guzman behind bars. Now, these executions were carried out partly due to punishment, and partly because Sinaloa wanted to warn others not to mess with them. Felix and Barnabas delivered just such a warning themselves, albeit under duress, telling the viewer not to steal from the cartel. Otherwise, you would face the inevitable and violent consequences. Anyone watching is
before you get murdered, you have to say, "Hey, do not steal from us." Just, like they pretty much recorded this just to let you know, "Hey, try it, bro, and see what happens." You know what I'm saying? It's kind of I'm not gonna go there. But you know, in the parallel universe, let's say, it's kind of like that vid, the popular vid, fuck around, find out. Mess around, y'all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's like they pretty much just threatened. They threatened it. They own it. You know what I'm saying? So it's messed up, man.
Not to tell people about private cartel business. You'd assume from what is being said here,
like you can see, like, hold on, my bad, y'all. But like this guy right here with the mustache, you can see that like he's hurting inside, like he's dying inside. Like, oh, I can't believe this is about to happen. The other dude just accepted it.
About private cartel business.
Well,
You assume from what is being said here that the Gamezes stole from the cartel.
Better.
But is it the Sinaloa cartel who are actually the ones interrogating the pair on camera? I can't say, of course, because there's only limited information available on the background of the video. What we witness is brutal and to the point, no doubt about that. Although the Sinaloa are mentioned, some have speculated that this is perhaps a rival cartel who have captured and killed them. One of the most interesting moments, if interesting is the right word to use here, is when Barnabas describes the money he was paid by the cartel for doing a job. This was an astonishingly small amount, $21. Can you believe how small this amount is? Being in that situation and working for peanuts, I can't imagine what effect that would have on a person. Did these two decide to take something off the top for themselves? Bearing in mind they were potentially risking their lives for very little reward. Barnabas states that he and Felix's lives are worth nothing because they got involved with the Sinaloa cartel. This, and the declaration about the poor rate of pay, is seen as a bold statement to make in front of men who are going to kill them. For some, it supports the idea that this is not the Sinaloa, as he might not say something like this in front of people who respect El Chapo. Either that, or he felt like he had nothing to lose. Another thing I should point out is the men's general behavior during the video. If someone is sitting there waiting for the end, you'd think that panic would set in. Instead, the nephew and his uncle are seemingly resigned to their grisly fate. They may have been drugged, as some have suggested. Either way, they're about to undergo a horrible ordeal. They appear to have already been roughed up, and worse is to come. Much, much worse. Gruesome deaths. I'm about to describe the deaths of Felix Gamez Garcia and Barnabas Gamez Castro. Why am I doing this when I could just play the video? Well, it would be easy for me to do that. But I wouldn't want to subject you to such harrowing material. As those who watch the video can tell you, once you've seen it, you never forget it. And I'm sure deep down, you don't want that kind of image in your mind. Also, these poor men have been through enough without their final moments being shown for people's education and entertainment. You've seen the title of this video, that the Sinaloa Cartel used chainsaws on their victims. They were going to use one to behead Barnabas Gamez Castro, his death being the quicker of the two. This could be because he wasn't directly involved, as Felix was. Barnabas reportedly says on the video that he started working with the Sinaloa through his nephew. So, while by their reckoning he had to die, it didn't have to be drawn out. That's my thinking anyway. However it happened, the way Barnabas left this world is absolutely horrific. I'm not going to show you anything graphic, but please be advised, the details are truly shocking. An anonymous cartel member wearing what looks to be combat gear walks into frame holding a chainsaw. As Barnabas steels himself for the end, the executioner puts the moving blade to his neck and takes it off his shoulders in 3 strokes. The first draws a lot of blood, and the second apparently kills Barnabas. At this point, something even more terrible happens. Barnabas falls against his nephew, who's already being hit with the blood. The
imagine just like sitting right by your uncle, man. Imagine sitting right by your uncle and he get his head cut off first and he lean right on you, blood all on you. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, that is so traumatizing. That is so haunting. You probably wouldn't. Imagine they just let him go. Like, you know what? We'll give you one more chance. He was not going to be able to sleep for a long time. And the fact that happened, and he landed on him and that happened, and he go he next, that's a sad way to go out, bro. That's a sad way. You probably want a fast death. You don't want
moves in to finish the job. While he does this, the blade touches Felix's arm. I really can't imagine what was going through Felix's mind at that point, but he manages to keep composed. This suggests that he was drugged. I mean, he must have been. Or frozen in fear. When it comes time for Felix to be killed, an even nastier fate awaits him. Someone in a ski mask moves in and slowly severs his head from his body with a hunting knife. This takes an agonizing 2 minutes plus to finish, during which Felix makes dying...
Damn, dude, they made it slow. They made it slow. Oh man, they made it slow.
Sounds that haunt whoever watches the video. Some have said that the sounds are the worst part. When Felix is finally dead and decapitated, there is an extra indignity. His killer places his severed head on top of his back. The video ends with a message in red font. Esto les va a pasar a todos los dedos torretas. Or, this is going to happen to all finger turrets. Not clear to English viewers, but it's thought to refer to the act of pointing fingers and speaking out when you shouldn't. A warning from the cartel. This isn't the first time a cartel videoed a violent execution, or used methods like a decapitation to get their point across. As for the reaction to the video, well, it went viral. How could it not, I guess? Awful though it is to think about people watching a murder video in the same way they could watch a cat video or whatever, it's something truly compelling. I'm reassured to know that the reaction was one of outrage. Despite the dramatic subject matter, 2 men died in horrible circumstances and need to be respected in death. Stories of brutal cartel slayings, punishing those who cross them or even just get in their way, are everywhere. For example, in 2012, footage emerged of the Gulf Cartel beheading their rivals in the Zetas Cartel, in much the same fashion as the Gamezes video. Like the nephew and his uncle, their shirts were removed. In 2010, a disturbing story was reported concerning a 14-year-old boy. He revealed that he'd been forced to behead 4 people by the cartel of the South Pacific. After his arrest, the boy stated that he'd done this under the influence of drugs. So, as if it isn't bad enough that the cartels are doing this in the first place, they're apparently using young people to to carry out these gruesome tasks. Many commentators have noted that these
crazy.
execution videos show the real and uncensored side of the cartel. I mean, that's the whole idea, right? But people are looking at this kind of stuff and then looking at shows like Narcos and probably realizing how glamorized that whole version of cartel life is. The truth is that cartel members are paid poorly and lead violent lives. Often, those lives are tragically short. Want to know more about some of these figures mentioned in the video?
What you mean, living in the kitchen?
You just make breakfast sausage, baby.
One. I threw the wrapper away, right?
Nope.
I didn't.
Nope.
Oh, I gotta go do it.
Yes, you did.
Tripping.
Such as El Chapo and El Cholo. Check out some of these other videos that explore their lives in depth.
I ain't gonna lie, y'all. That was questionable. That was like I done seen some stuff on there. I'm not gonna explain what I seen, but I done seen some things.